Welcome back to another episode of the now named podcast.
Oh yeah, we got a name.
We got a name now. We didn't on the first episode, but this is the Cultural Exchange
The cultural
Podcast.
exchange. The
What
cultural exchange.
what a name. I'm so proud of myself for coming up with that.
Cap, 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 cap. It was I. I mean,
uh,
it was obvious, man. White guy, black guy, two different cultures, two different backgrounds, finding common ground in different um things like hip hop and entertainment and stuff like that. And we talk all the time and we sharing opinions on different stuff and we kind of bring different things to the table in our regular conversation. So it was only right to do it on the podcast, you know what I'm saying? So it just made sense
yeah,
to me. It made sense.
yeah. I think it was a perfect title.
Yeah.
And I look, that first episode I thought was really great. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from it.
Yeah.
And I think the show that we have lined up today is even better.
Agreed.
Like this is like episodic finale type episode. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't know how we get better. But
Oh, we
this
got a
episode
guest. We got a guest too. We got
we
a
got a
guest.
guest.
An
We got
educator.
an educator. I'm an educator. Clearly I wasn't enough. We had to bring another one in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. You know how it go.
hey, I'm not enough. I'm used to that. That's my whole life. That's fine. But nah, I think we got a great episode lined up. Where this is gonna be a mature episode, with some with our own little comedic elements added to it.
Little
So
sprinkle. Little sprinkle.
uh, if you're ready, let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All
What we
right.
talking about?
First things first. I want to talk about this now viral clip from rapper formerly known as Mos Def.
Yassine.
Yassine Bey was on a podcast, and he was asked a very good question. I think it was a perfect question for him because he's the type of rapper I want to hear this feedback from. So I got a clip. Let's jump into it.
Like, is Drake hip hop? Why are you doing this to me?
Drake is pop to me, in the sense like if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song, it feels like a lot of his music is compatible with shopping,
Commercial music.
or it's
Commercial music, yeah.
shopping with an edge in certain instances.
Fair. I like Drake's music, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Of course, I mean
It's
get
commercial, entertaining, fun,
It's-
good,
it's-
formulaic music.
it.
Formulaic.
It's likable.
Likeable music, yeah.
Formulaic indeed.
It's likable.
Um,
Likable. I agree with the descriptions though. I ain't even the cat. That ain't no disrespect. That's just it is likable. It is formulaic. I've seen the wheel reinvented 1,000 times across Drake albums. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
is shopping music. You will hear it when you out and about. It is popular. It is pop. It is commercial, and it is entertaining.
I think you can say all of those things without it being actually disrespectful. A lot of
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
a lot of people are the commentary surrounding that clip is that it is him throwing shots at Drake, and that's I don't take that at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I
I think it's an accurate description.
and I think Drake would probably tell you that too.
Yeah, I think it's on purpose. How do you get to the top of the ladder?
He found the formula, he perfected it,
Yeah.
and now he's where he's at is
Yeah.
undeniable. And I'll have certain friends hearing this, and they're gonna be texting me like, "Oh, you're talking good about Drake." I'm
Yeah.
the type of guy I can hear a song or an album from an artist, and I can identify the good in it, even if I'm not a fan of it, because that just means it's not for me. Right.
Right.
I can identify talent even if it's not for me. So I think Drake is talented, but the majority of his music is not for me. And that's
Super
fine.
talented. Super talented. One of the most talented. Nobody put him together like him. You know, the run he's on is amazing. It's never been nothing like it. We talked about Wayne run. Drake run is different. So,
Yeah.
and no disrespect, man, it is what it is. But I do know what I disagree with with obviously with Most Def, what y'all seen, but I get where you coming from when he said it was not hip hop. He don't mean it in the way that it's not actually hip hop. You know what I'm saying? He's thinking about that cloth he's cut from. You know what I'm talking about?
But so I mean, but that's a question to ask. Has hip hop evolved
It evolved numerous times. The hip hop, the definition of hip hop itself, the
at the
culture of hip
core?
hop,
At the core.
the pillars.
Mhm.
And that's what Mos Def is relying on. He ain't relying on, he's not talking about hip hop the sonically has changed.
Right.
No, no, no.
Right.
No, he's talking about the pillars and the cloth that he's cut from, they cut
Mhm.
from the pillars. And I don't think he see Drake in that. Drake don't even acknowledge
Sure.
that himself. So I think Drake would agree.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. There are Drake songs that I like, and a lot of the songs that I like are what my idea of hip hop is, right? That early Drake, October's very own, like that early Drake, So Far Gone tape, like that's the Drake that I liked. Going into Thank Me Later, there were some joints on there I liked. There's some joints on Take Care that I liked. Look, I'm sleeping on some of the later albums, like you tell me. But I like Scorpion. I like Side A of Scorpion. But a lot of the
That's the
music,
one album. That's the one album I wasn't a big fan of. I know it got big bangers on it, but I wasn't.
sure.
Yeah.
There,
Other than that, I like all the other shit.
I just think a lot of it's not for me. That's not to take anything away from him. I think he's super talented, obviously super successful. You got to give him his flowers. Like how can you not? But I think
Yeah.
the bigger topic of discussion here is just bringing light to the fact that Mos Def, Yazine Bey was not throwing shots at Drizzy, Drake,
He was
Rogers.
not. He was not, man. Peace, love, and positivity over there, man. He ain't
Yeah,
he ain't tripping too much. I think he does come from a different world, bro. That's all it is.
yeah. Now I'm curious. Before we move on,
Yeah.
what's your favorite Drake bar?
Bar? Oh, you gonna put me on the spot?
Yeah, you on the spot, dog.
I don't just have Drake bars lodged in my temple,
Now you're a
but
hip hop head. Come on, of course you do.
you want to talk early day Drake, that because that's when I was on it the hardest.
Mhm.
I thought it was this comical bar. The on the song going in where he was like making hoes wobble like a bridge in an
Bridge and
earthquake.
an earthquake.
All I could say is just touche. Touche. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? I thought that was
yeah.
good.
I just wanted to throw you on the spot and see what you came up with.
Oh,
That was that.
something was gonna come out. I got them all over my playlist, so something was gonna come out.
I just like I'm trying to think of what mine would be, and this wouldn't be it. But my like it's nostalgia, but that ransom song, and actually
Yeah.
I think this is a Wayne bar. It's not even a Drake bar. Just Jersey Drake Rogers. I'm too busy to play father. It's not even. I don't have a Drake bar in my mental right now.
You gonna ask me a question you don't even have an answer to. You're
Uh,
fired. You're fired, Donald Trump status.
don't do that. Don't bring Donald Trump
Hey,
to the
shout
pod.
out to my dog DT. No, I'm
No,
just playing. I'm just
I'm
playing.
cutting all this out.
The algorithm go crazy now that I said that. Yeah.
What's he saying for my town? Uh, they at my party grabbing money off the ground. That's all I got. That's what comes to mind.
That's the hardest.
Hardest? No, it's the only one come to mind.
Yo, that's deep. All right. Yeah, man, you got to catch up though. You got some. Look, there's one thing that's guaranteed on every album, every project that he drop. It's gonna be a couple joints you can drop on the playlist.
Was
And
uh was the one that you were telling me that I need to revisit? Was that
yeah,
if you're
yeah. If
reading
you're
this is
reading
too
this,
late?
yeah, if you're reading this, is to me that's fire. That
Yeah,
joker, I put that on and go. That's
yeah.
fire. And when it
Now
first when it first came out, it was a little different. It was stripped down. A lot of the beats stripped down, bare bones. But shit, it's dope.
yeah.
It
So
aged well, in my opinion.
while we're sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but while we're talking about music, the conversation we've had a million times is the need for musicians to have a union, right? And the need for musicians to have a union also lends itself to the need for stand-up comedians to have a union, to stop allowing certain things to happen or to prevent things from happening. the writers and actors were just on strike. The WGA was just on strike. We were combating the use of AI, right? We didn't want,
That was a
you know,
huge deal. Huge
it was
deal.
a huge thing. And when I say we, I'm an actor and a writer, so the fact that AI could be used to take away the jobs from the very talented writer, the phenomenal actors, like
Even
AI
extras. Even extras.
extras, absolutely. And I just think it's so important that these other forms of entertainment also um, come up with a union for themselves. And with that being said, I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's an AI generated George Carlin comedy special that just came out.
I haven't listened to the whole thing. I
So you've
listened to
heard
some
some
of
of
it.
it.
I've listened to maybe the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Creepy. Creepy, my boy. Creepy.
It is creepy. Now I don't know all the specifics. Not all the specifics have been released. I don't know if the jokes were AI formulated or just the voice. I don't know if there were writers behind the jokes and then AI created the voice or what it was. But I take problem with it. George Carlin passed away in 2008. Let the man rest.
Yeah.
Soon enough, like if this is what we're doing, there's going to be no need. There's going to be zero need for any entertainers, right? The
Right.
entertainers that we know and love now, AI can just take their likeness and create something. So this stuff needs to be handled. So the team behind this, the AI George Carlin special, is the same team that made the Tom Brady comedy special last year.
I didn't know that existed. I don't want to
Yes.
hear Tom Brady do comedy, so I don't even give a fuck.
No.
But
But
truthfully,
Tom Brady hit them with a cease and desist.
yeah, good for him.
So I think the George Carlin estate will file a cease and desist because
His daughter spoke out. I saw that
she spoke
as
out.
well.
Yeah. So I do.
Yeah.
I have a clip. I have a clip from the special. I listened to it. It didn't sit well with my spirit.
Yeah. Go ahead and play it for me.
I'm glad to be dead so I don't have to deal with this shit anymore. I wasn't looking forward to dying, but now that I'm dead, I have to admit it's pretty fucking good. No cops, no government, no pissing, no shitting, no sleeping. I don't get hungry, I don't get sick, I don't get old, and I don't get bored. Starting to sound a lot like heaven again, ain't it? But this heaven's a little different than the one you might be thinking of because this heaven didn't come from a god. It came from artificial intelligence. Which brings me to my next subject. What in the fuck am I? Am I the real George Carlin? Am I a digital copy? Am I a technological abomination? Am I the future of comedy? Am I the end of humanity? These are the same questions I was asking myself when I was alive, and I still have the same answer. I have no fucking idea.
So after hearing that, what is your knee jerk reaction?
Yo, this was weird. This was weird, bro. Like the voice inflections is impressive.
Yeah, it's scary.
Even breaths. It doesn't need a breath, but it is there's breaths there. If you listening to the sentences that you can hear, like what where the hell they get this from, bro? Like, yo,
And
this is
if you're familiar with George Carlin, it's pretty spot on. Like if
yeah,
you pay attention, you can hear the differences, but it's pretty close. It is
it is
really, really
it is
close.
really, 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 really good technology.
And I'm all for the advancement of technology, but at some point, like
At what
you're
cost? You know what I
exactly
mean?
at what cost? Because not only are you jeopardizing the careers of everybody, you know what I mean? Like all entertainers, and right now we're speaking on entertainment, but this can go way past that if not careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a dangerous
You-
game we playing.
You're taking the soul out of everything, and the thing about that specific clip that I chose, I chose that one on purpose because obviously it's self-aware. It's being very self-aware, but the jokes that it were making really didn't sit right in my spirit. You know what I mean? Like some of the jokes throughout the special were funny. but the fact that it was so self-aware, like when he said, "What am I? Am I an abomination of technology or whatever it said?" Like that, like it just it felt like it was taunting whatever the future is going to be with AI.
Now you combine that with the hologram, it's taking over, bro.
Do you
I,
remember when the Tupac
the Tupac
hologram?
hologram, bro. Imagine them bringing the Tupac hologram or any the Richard Pryor hologram
Mm.
with new Richard Pryor material. Oh my God.
Now, and that's also worth mentioning the comedy special. There was the visual for it was just AI generated, um, almost photos, like moving photos. It wasn't like it wasn't George Carlin standing on a stage, AI George Carlin standing on a stage telling these jokes and for an AI audience. It wasn't that. Which almost makes
Completely
it
computer generated, right?
it was very creepy. Like I said, it was just moving pictures that just felt very. I don't know what the right word is, but it made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I need an explanation. I need to know who wrote it or did they?
I don't know. Will Sasso and his partner created it. Will Sasso is an actor and comedian. He has a podcast called Duty. Um,
Okay. Okay.
Will Sasso, I think, is a very talented actor. Um, but I didn't know this was I didn't know that this was his thing, right? So it's Will Sasso and Chad uh Coltgen. I don't know how to say his last name, but they were the ones behind the Tom Brady comedy special, and they're behind this. So I know they actually yesterday, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but they released an episode of their podcast where they were responding or reacting to certain comments made on the George Carlin special. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere in there. Um, I hope there is at least. It'd be weird if it was just an hour of them reading comments of people attacking them because the broad range of response that this thing has got, I haven't seen many, if any, positive ones.
Nah, I haven't seen too many. I don't think you're going to see too many because this can go too many different ways. And obviously, people are afraid of where this can even go. So the AI, the whole AI, the mystery behind it, um, this is too much, bro. Like let the dead be dead. You know what I mean? Just
Let
like
them rest.
what happened to respecting the dead in that manner? Like honor the legacy, but don't try to get them to come back from the grave to continue it. Like they did what they did while they was on Earth, and they gone. It's over with. That's
Yeah.
just what it is.
Yeah. But I understand like the desire for more from somebody that you loved, right? I understand the desire for that because with a stand-up comic or a rapper or a singer or an actor, their art, the things that they created brought a lot of happiness and laughter and joy into our lives.
Let me tell you
But
something, man.
but in the same breath, let it be.
Let me
Enjoy
tell
what
you
you
something, man.
have.
If they brought laughter and joy in our lives, and if we appreciated it while they was here, we wouldn't have to go creating them over when they dead, so we can get another taste of it. Why you just want to appreciate somebody when they here? That's the bigger lesson. We
Yeah.
taking away the bigger lesson in life by making death just another milestone to seeing the person again. AI
In,
generated. That don't make sense to me, bro.
in terms of consumerism, this AI generated whatever takes away exactly what you're saying. It takes away our appreciation for the gifted creators that we have now. Right. So
Right.
with somebody like George Carlin, maybe he was appreciated while he was here, maybe he wasn't. Right. But at this point, we can look at a Kevin Hart, we can look at a Cat Williams, sorry, we can look at a at a Lil Wayne, right? And they're still here and they're creating these pieces of art. And maybe we just don't appreciate it like we should because we know when the day comes that they're dead and gone with this new AI generated content, we're gonna hear we're gonna hear new music and new comedy specials from them for decades to come. And I don't like that at all.
Nah, not a fan. Not a fan. Stop. Cut the. This is really depressing to me, man.
Yeah.
It really
It,
is, bro. It's like, what is life?
yeah.
It really
It,
is, bro. It's like, what is life? Like, what's the value of a life now? If you can just do, if you can take what someone did in their time of living, recreate it when they're dead, capitalize off it. It's like it leads me to think, what lengths wouldn't someone go to get money? Capitalism is off the charts right now. Like we another level with money getting. Like this don't this don't even make sense. We don't respect the dead no more. Like, come on, dog. This is infuriating, bro. It
and
really is.
that's where the topic of unions come in, right? Because obviously we have entertainment lawyers and all that that can combat these things, but when you have an entire union combating something, that can make the whole difference as we've seen
Yeah,
in these last two strikes.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
SAG strike and the WGA strike, it showed us, look, they were using AI to generate, background actors. They were
Mhm,
using AI to create title sequences, as we saw in Secret Wars. You know what I mean? Like these things were happening, and we
mhm.
weren't informed of it.
Yeah.
And then once these unions got a hold of it, they're like, no, we are not allowing you to take jobs from the hardworking creators that are a part of our union now, past, present, and future.
Yeah,
You know
listen
what I
here,
mean?
Hollywood. You don't have my consent to use my name, image, likeness, remote likeness, similarities, or anything. If you weigh what I weigh, you are the height that I am, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You do not have the right to say it's me. This is weird, man. We just in a different space, bro, and we in an uncomfortable space for me, man,
Yeah.
because I think all of this stuff is really like towing the line of just going into a place of no return.
Hmm. And
Really,
do you think there's an answer? Do you think there's a way to halt this?
we saw the Matrix. We need a Neo.
We do.
That's how you that's how you turn all this all this around. You get a Neo.
We need a Neo and a Morpheus.
We need a Neo.
I don't know,
Nah,
man. It's scary. I'm feeling frightened. I think it's time we move on to the next topic. I
yeah,
don't want to
man.
feel frightened over here.
I'm terrified. I'm terrified of what's to come because you just don't know what's next. You don't know what's next, bro. Like this, cool that you can do it. The capabilities are crazy. I, it's okay to know you're capable of doing something and having the strength and discipline to not do it. Like that's even stronger than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Let's this was a heavy topic. Let's move into another one. But for this one, we're bringing in a guest. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome to the podcast my boy Ryan Smith.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hello, sir.
Let's get some energy though. Like that, just hey, how you doing? That was the whitest thing I've ever seen in my
Hey, how
life.
you doing? Well, this is my first time on a podcast, so I'm gonna do the best that I can because I want to be good for you guys. So,
I'm honestly surprised you
um,
don't have a podcast.
I don't. I mean, I probably should have one, honestly. I would probably make some money. And that half the
Start
stuff we do at my school is just it's definitely TikTok worthy, that's for sure.
and I used to work at your school, so I can attest to that. That you there's a yes, there are some stories to be shared.
Probably get in trouble a little bit though, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'll tell you off the mic. There's a situation at your school that you and I are both aware of that I would love to tell on the comedy stage, but I cannot. I would love to.
don't get nobody in trouble, LJ.
No.
Hey, I will not. But the topic that we're gonna be speaking on today, it's kind of it's not really a heavy topic at all, but I think it's an important one. And Gas actually, brought it to my attention. But after you did, I saw it everywhere. Like this thing went viral. So I'm not sure, Gas, if you are, let us know. I'm not sure, what, where this teacher's from. I don't know, what state they're from. I don't know what age groups they teach. But this teacher put up this paper in their class. It was a set of rules. It was words and phrases that are not allowed in this classroom. Now I have it right here. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to read through it just so the audience is
Yeah,
aware of
let's
what we're
go through it.
talking
Let's
about.
go through it.
All right. These words slash sayings are prohibited in my classroom. If you are caught using these words, you will write a short essay explaining why you chose to use these words in an academic setting to express yourselves. There are many ways to articulate what you need to say without using slang. Please know that using slang in an academic setting can diminish your capability to become a successful writer. More often than not, the way you speak is the way you will write. The gibberish some of you choose to use is improper English and sometimes inappropriate for an academic setting. This is an educational institution, and you will carry yourself as scholars in my classroom. So, before I get into the list of things that are prohibited from this classroom, the writing of that seems a little harsh to me, yet still valid, right? Because the teacher is in control of their classroom. They can, within reason, make up whatever rules they want to. I don't know if you guys want to give any feedback on that
Would
before I
would
jump
would
into
would
the
would a better word be stern?
stern. I mean, teachers are that.
I didn't see it as being too harsh, but just the word in the word choice, it was a little stern. It's like, look, I mean what I say, and this is how we're gonna operate.
Yeah, my initial interpretation of that little prompt you just read, it comes off a little bit, like aggressive. It- I mean, if you want me to just give you my whole opinion right now, I can.
Mhm.
Well, let me jump into the list of 32 things that students are not allowed to say in their classroom.
Which I feel
Uh,
like that's kind of a light list too. I read through it already myself.
So starting with bruh, standing on business. Ooh wee ski ye. Ski ye. You wake that up. That's cap. What's up, gang? Bet. Oh my God, Miss T. On God. On my mama. On my dad, mom, dad, aunt, cousin, any family, friend, or associate. Riz. What's up, G Wade? In the cut with my twin. Just vibe. Get. On bro, on hood, gang gang, the N-word, on me, on the set, freak you mean, period, big dog, motion and or big motion, just vibe twin, what's up twin, it's giving.
mm, yeah,
I hate a lot of those.
Yeah,
I hate
and
majority of them.
I thought it was an odd list because my first impression was like those are like such outdated things. I feel like at least half of them aren't things I've ever even heard before. Maybe I'm just out of the lingo game because I'm a little older now, but yeah, I don't know.
A lot of those, I mean, she said the teacher had said that it was inappropriate for a scholastic setting, so that's one thing. But like at face value, I would say the majority of those aren't necessarily inappropriate. Like
Yeah,
at
I
face
don't.
value, it's not inappropriate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think her larger point is about the words in general.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But rather the use and when, when to use them.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And I'm kind of in the same boat where I can understand the point. And I did a little bit of research before I jumped on with you guys. Not any hard research, but like just some quick searches just to see kind of like what's going on. And the initial understanding that I have is that the text messaging, the technology, the screen time in as a whole is having an effect on students and their means of communication, especially in writing. And so it is causing an issue in the classroom. So I can see how, a teacher that's very passionate about writing or English language literacy skills, they really want to hit home and be like, no, we got to change this and yada yada. So I can kind of get where she's coming from, but at the same time, technology is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And we live in a modern world where communication is getting faster and faster. How quickly you can do something, it's starting to mean something. So, communication as a whole, I think, is just going to get quicker and quicker.
It's
I
forever changing.
yeah, and I think the simpler, but yet the more concise you can speak, I get work emails all the time at work, and a lot of them are from ELA teachers, and I catch myself shaking my head more often than not because some of the teachers that are teaching our kids how to read and write, they themselves struggle with reading and writing. I'm not gonna say names, but I've gotten emails where I look at it
Yeah.
and I'm like, I would have at least proofread that before I sent that out to the entire staff. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you for your students, for you specifically as a teacher, are there things, maybe not anything that was on that list, but any slang terms that you hear on a day-to-day that bother you, rub you the wrong way, that you want to tell a student, hey, you can't be speaking like that, not in my classroom, not, how do you approach slang while it's in front of you from a student?
well, I mean, it would depend on what it is, I guess. A lot of times, especially in the classroom, and I call where I work a classroom, even though technically I'm outside. Um, it's still my classroom, so to
Mhm.
speak. So when I'm there, I tend to gauge my audience and I pick and choose my battles. Because as a teacher, our lives are only getting more and more difficult, more and more legislatures getting passed. Things just continue to compound and mount. And that's why we have a teacher shortage and we've had one. And they're doing everything they can to try to retain these teachers, get more teachers, make it easier to get certified. There's a whole, I mean, I could go on and on about all that. There's a slippery slope to that conversation and the quality of education and the quality of educators by making it easier to become one. And I'm not going to get into all that, but to speak on just the slang in the classroom, again, I pick my battles. I personally work in a Title I school, so a lot of the kids I work with are, I don't want to word it inappropriately. They're kind of on the lower scheme of things as far as social status. Their family life is not good in many cases, not all of them, but many cases. Very low income households. Most all the kids are on free or reduced lunch, and actually, I think this year they passed it to where every child gets free and
Yeah.
reduced lunch or free lunch. Period.
My
Um,
school too.
yeah, so I pick and choose my battles because I know that they're going through a lot at home, and a lot of them, using foul language is just a part of their everyday life with their parents or their grandparents or aunt and uncles or adopted parent, whoever they're staying with. And I kind of just shrug it off and I say, hey guys, like, you might be able to talk like that at home, but please don't do it here, because there's other
Yeah.
kids that don't speak like that at home, and you got to be respectful to everybody. So I would say, depending on what the slang is, unless it's morbidly inappropriate, like racial or things like that, I kind of just shrug it off and I just let them know to, hey, curb it a little bit.
I think for me, the only thing that I really call out with my students is swearing. The school that I work in is I work in an elementary school, but it's the younger kids that I'm working, the closest with, and we're having 5, 6, 7, 8 year olds just coming in, cursing left and right, like the foulest of language that you could ever hear. And if you, and just like you said, if you speak like that at home with your family, that's one thing. If your family's okay with it, great, do it there. But there are a lot of kids here, maybe not even a lot, maybe it's just some of the kids here whose family, they don't swear in front of their kids. They don't allow that type of thing. Maybe they've never even heard some of these words and they're learning all these things from school. So, I make it a point when it comes to swearing to make sure that these kids know that, you know, in this setting, we want to respect the other students, we want to respect their families, and that's pretty much where I end it. Like a lot of the kids are using slang. Some of the stuff that's even on that list I hear every day. And for me, none of my students are writing assignments or things like that, where they're not writing papers where they're going to include stuff like that. So Gas and I had this conversation maybe about a week ago. Whereas I understand if we have an assignment, if I have to write a 5 page paper, if I have to write a paragraph, on a topic or something like that, then no, I would agree. Let's not use that type of language in there. But if it's just, communication in class, like say there's some free time in class and kids are talking, slang's going to be used because that's how everybody speaks. Teachers speak
Mhm.
that way too, right? So I'm kind of in the middle on this because I understand it, but I think it should be loosened at least a little bit.
Yeah, so uh I'm not an educator like you guys. Actually I teach at the School of Hard Knocks. Um and and it's a lot of stuff that happens at this school. My perspective is a little different, bro. Like I think I'm with you with the middle ground. Like if the kids got free time, say what you want as long as it's not disrespectful and inappropriate. You know what I'm saying? Use all the
Absolutely.
slang that you want to use. You can say what you want to say. Uh, but while we're presenting in class, don't use slang. I would, I would definitely agree with that. On papers, don't use any slang terminology unless you're writing some kind of narrative story writing where you're showing dialogue. Use things in the proper sense. But in order to use things in the proper sense, you got to know how to use things in the proper sense, and and the only way you can know how to use things in the proper sense is to get practice at it, which is one of the best places to get practice is at school. So if I'm a teacher, I don't want anybody to be practicing their slang more than these things that they're supposed to be learning in my classroom. You know what I mean? That's my perspective on it. I'm a little harder. My mom was a little harder on me. When I got home, first thing I did was do homework. I know some of my friends, they would get home and get in their drawers and put on, cartoons and then get to their homework later. Me, it was straight to the books. So my discipline level is far different from some of the kids I see these days. But truth be told, um, I think these kind of restrictions, if you will, are necessary sometimes because there's a lot of freedom that kids get, uh, on the internet and what they got going on with technology. It's so much to do, and I think sometimes that can remove them from real life. And if our goal is to prepare them for the workforce and professional settings, I think we should give them some professional practice.
I mean, I think that's fair. I just tend to think, and maybe it's like the history I have working working in behavior or working in, psychiatrics, it's that we all have many different sides of ourselves, right? We're not just one thing. We there's a duality to each of us, right? So I wonder, thinking about this topic, I wonder if we are doing if in this case, if there is a disservice happening to these kids, right? Because I think it's important for children to be able to express themselves. But again, like I said, I perfectly agree with the fact that we're going to speak in a specific way when it comes to assignments and papers and whatnot, right? My bigger issue is just not allowing the children to speak openly how they speak, as long as it's respectful and all of that. Um, I just think going into adulthood, going into whatever career path these students may end up going to, you know, at least for me, the way that I speak when I'm hanging out with my friends, when I'm hanging out with Gaz, or if I'm hanging out with Ryan, is a totally different way than I speak when I'm at my job, right? So I think
Absolutely.
it's important to understand that that duality is there. There's an on and off switch to certain ways of speaking. There's an on and off switch to maybe certain topics that the three of us might talk about in private. That we wouldn't talk about in a classroom. You know what I mean? So that's where the disservice of it all comes for me because like I said, I just think that children should be able to learn that as they're getting older. And obviously there's so many different age groups from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And, I think mainly maybe what we're speaking for is, middle school and high school.
I work in an elementary school, so like you said, I don't get to see that, side of it as much. But to piggyback off what you guys are saying, I find myself sort of in the middle ground too. Like I can definitely see how practicing what you preach is definitely, I mean, it's important. I mean, with any aspect of life, practice what you preach is kind of, it's a thing. And the only way you're going to get better is to practice. And practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So the more you practice something really wrong, you're going to get really good at doing it really wrong. So it makes perfect sense that, if you're constantly talking, in abbreviations or, I mean, we've all texted with the letter U instead of writing it out, because it's just quick and easy, that it's going to start translating into other aspects of life. So I get the teacher, stating this. And you also have to take into account that sometimes as teachers, so we can avoid singling out students or targeting students that, for all we know, this could even been something that she posted as a blanket statement that was really designed around maybe 3 or 4 kids in her class that was really struggling with it, and she didn't want to target them. So
Wow.
that could also be something that's going on. I do that all the time in class. I'll make a blanket statement to the entire group that really I'm trying to pinpoint on 2 or 3 kids, but I don't want to single them out, make them feel bad, or be self-conscious in front of their peers. So there's that aspect of it too. But no, I definitely completely agree. If you're dialoguing and writing, you're gonna be writing how that character in your story, is speaking. If your character has a speech impediment, obviously that's going to translate into what you're writing. If they talk a certain way. But there's a difference between that and if I'm writing a 10-page research paper on George Washington, obviously it's going to be written professionally, with articulate words, and it's going to be comprehensive, it's going to be concise. There's a difference there, and presenting and everything else. And I think at school, where you're learning academics, you're learning to read, you're learning to write, you should present the best version of yourself. So if you're going to be, anything you do with a pencil or a pen on paper should be the best version of you. But that's kind of where I stand on it. It really just depends on what's going on in your classroom. There's a reason why she posted it. There's a target audience she's trying to get to read that. And maybe it's something that she was struggling with for the first semester. And so she had to come up with some sort of like a punishment, like, okay, well, step 1 and step 2 didn't work. So now I'm going to enforce, you have to write a small paragraph because you keep doing this or that, who knows?
Yeah, I
So
think that's a great point that you brought up too about the blanket statements because of maybe a few. That's something I didn't think about, and that's also a good tactic. Good tactic, so you don't single out kids. Another thing I just thought about too is I noticed. So I was raised in the '90s, born in the '80s, raised in the '90s, and it was a different world, right? It was a little more physical. Um, we got in trouble. Our parents was allowed to put hands on us. And a lot of these kids don't have that, right? They don't have a structure or discipline at home. A lot of times they're allowed to do whatever they want to do at all times, and they bring that to school. And I can imagine with you saying that maybe it was a few kids. I can imagine a few kids putting yacht on a paper, and she had a yacht. You know what I'm saying? Or some crazy stuff
Yeah.
like that on just to be funny or to be whatever the case is, and that's really disrespectful and really really hindering their learning. And I believe that though that kind of behavior is allowed a lot of times, because I don't think that a lot of us know what to do as far as discipline.
it's true. And in the school setting, it's, as a teacher, I mean, there's only so much you can do and get away with as far as discipline goes. It's an area that a lot of teachers don't even want to touch. A lot of times we defer and we say, hey, admin, or hey, behavior team, what do I do here? Can you come help out? Because Lord knows in today's society, you make one mistake, you make one wrong statement, you do something that's questionable, and you're suspended and you're on, administrative non-paid leave, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just can't be too careful anymore these days. Like our faculty meeting today was all about behavior and ways that you can, mitigate certain situations and handle. A de-escalation was a big topic today. So, and I'm not really good at that. I'm really good at instigation, but
That's a fact.
being a PE coach, it's kind of expected. We fill that role where we're a little bit more, we're a coach. We harp on the kids a bit more. We encourage them a bit more.
When I read it, the thing that just screamed out to me, it seemed as if the teacher was a get off my lawn type of individual who, is, back in my day type of individual. And I have no idea that that's true. That could have been written by a 27-year-old, the 27-year-old teacher. But the way that I read it, I just had this picture in my head, and I didn't think about the singling out kids either. And I think that's a great point. And that honestly, that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
So I will take the L on this. I'm still in the middle ground. I think kids should be able to express themselves, but there is obviously, excuse me, there's obviously a time and place.
Time and place. Yeah. Time and place. Yeah. I think that's the case with this particular teacher. I think she's setting boundaries, and boundaries are uncomfortable for a lot of people who've never had them. So and I think that's just par for the course. And I think the conversation on social media around this list is proves that as well. You know, a lot of people never had these boundaries.
A lot of people, a lot of the commentary um, calls this out as racial as well. So I don't know if you want to throw your 2 cents in that being a racial thing or not.
Well, I'll touch on this real quick. To get off my lawn type. You ever saw a movie called Lean on Me?
Yes.
Old movie, right? Morgan Freeman, right? Listen, that is the get off my line guy to the fullest. Discipline, straight and narrow, right? This is what people don't realize, and I tie this in with race. Discipline is necessary. And we're not, when we say discipline, we're not necessarily speaking physical all the time. You know what I'm saying?
No, not at all.
But rather structure, boundaries, time and place. And I believe that personally for me, I don't think it's racial because I hear, especially in my neighborhood, I hear non-blacks speaking more slang than a little bit these days. Like it's so different from when I was growing up. And nowadays you hear two white kids yelling at each other in, the courtyard and calling each other N-words these days. Like that's common ground now. And so I can't necessarily say the list was racial because I don't know. And I don't know the teacher. And I don't think anybody should really speculate on that, but rather look for the message. Looking for the overall overarching message, which is these kids need to learn time and place. And I agree with it, man. I'm whole lot. The more I think about it, the more I agree because I know how much I needed those get off my lawn people that you described in my life. Without them, I would be in trouble, big trouble. Without those people who didn't get a firm grasp on the back of my shirt and pull me out of the gut I was walking down, trying to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Trying to be social. All that stuff is fun on it. It look good on TikTok, but when real life hit, when we get out of school and we got to go into the world with other people and rub elbows and network and do whatever your job requires you to do, you need to learn how to do it with tact, and that starts young. Because if it don't start young, they won't be successful when they're older. It's hard to just pick up something and just go.
Yeah, you got me sold.
Sure.
I believe you. I'm all in now.
I guess to touch the racial part, I don't think it's racial.
Yeah. I noticed that was a big part of the discussion, so I thought it was worth mentioning and covering. But I think this has been a great conversation. I think we've reached all
For sure.
angles of it. I think everything has been touched on. And
Pause.
Ryan, I just want to thank you for hopping on. Okay.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said, I knew it was coming. Ryan, thank you for coming in and giving us your 2 cents.
I appreciate you, Ryan.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Once again, I just want to send a major thank you to Ryan Smith for joining the podcast and giving his feedback and commentary on education. I thought it was an important conversation for all of us to have. And even though I'm an educator myself, I am not a teacher. I work more in retention and things like that. But bringing in a teacher to discuss that, I thought was important, and I think we had a great discussion from that.
Absolutely. Very enlightening.
So while we're being grown up and talking about grown up things, let's talk about some more grown up shit. A lot of people have already seen Jelly Roll speaking out on the drug epidemic, the fentanyl epidemic. So let's just kind of dive into that. We're not going to give our thoughts and commentary on the drug epidemic because you can assume where we stand. A lot of people have the same thoughts and concerns as we do. But before we get into what we're going to discuss, I just want to play a little clip of "That's Crazy." That's crazy. If you're just listening to the podcast, you missed some crazy shit that guys did. I'm gonna play a clip.
I was speaking outside to the media, and I gave them a statistic that said 190 people a day overdose and die every single day in the United States of America. That is about a 737 plane. That's what about a 737 aircraft can carry. Could you imagine the national media attention it would get if they were reporting that a plane was crashing every single day and killing 190 people? But because it's 190 drug addicts, we don't feel that way. Because America has been known to bully and shame drug addicts instead of dealing and trying to understand what the actual root of the problem is with that. But the sad news is that that narrative is changing too, because the statistics say that in all likelihood, almost every person in this room has lost a friend, family member, or colleague to the disease known as addiction.
First
That's
off,
real.
I just want to get I want to give props to Jelly Roll. He spoke on that very eloquently and so passionately. You can tell that he cares about everything he's saying. He believes everything that he's saying. And the truth of the matter is everything that he's saying is real.
Yeah. Yeah. No lies detected. We all got, past and whatnot. And in this past, you can tell that this strikes a chord.
Yeah.
So the passion that he speaks with is one that's relatable to me too. You know what I'm saying? It may not have been fentanyl, but it's other things. My stepfather was on drugs. You know what I'm saying? I have family members. It's friends. So
Yeah.
this is a real big thing, man. You can go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off too much, man. But this, you can tell that this is a passionate situation
It
for him
absolutely
personally.
is. It absolutely is. And for me personally, just like you, I've lost family members to drug addiction, to addiction of heroin and cocaine and whatnot. None of it was fentanyl, but at the end of the day, they lost their life thanks to these drugs.
Right.
And this is something that strikes the both of us and so many other people out there. I I think it's safe to assume that the large majority of people know a drug addict, somebody that was close to them at some point, whether it be a family member or a friend, whatever the case may be. We all have encountered somebody that we love and care about, struggling with drug addiction or losing their life to that. We're not here to, we're not here to talk about that. It's a very real thing. We all have our opinions and feelings about it. Um, I don't know that I've seen a lot of people responding to Jelly Roll's statements as negative, but there anytime a celebrity of sorts speaks out on social issues, we hear we hear people say things like "shut up and dribble." Go do your movie, go do your show, go make your music. We don't care about your opinions on real everyday struggles that y'all don't have to deal with. Right? That's a common thing. And I disagree with that narrative personally. So I want to get your opinion on that. But me personally, I'm gonna just let you know right now. I think everybody has the right to share their opinions and concerns about whatever it is that they care about and are passionate about. Why? Just because I play basketball, just because I make music, just because I do whatever it is and I do it well, why can't I speak on something that I care about?
If I got an audience, it'd be a great disservice if I didn't speak my opinion on certain things.
Absolutely.
That's how I
If
feel about it.
if you have an audience and you can make a difference, even if you're just making the difference in one person's life, is that not worth it?
Absolutely worth it. Yeah.
I'm just sick and tired of that narrative, bro. It's like people assume that just because you're an athlete or an entertainer, you're not educated. You haven't experienced
Yeah.
real
Or you
grief.
or you don't have the right to speak on these things. Like, bro, I got more than the right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially when I got the experience.
Yes.
I'm supposed to say something. I feel like I'm taking it personal now. I feel like I would be less of a man if I didn't speak on real stuff that relates to other people that I just so happen to go through as well. What kind of what kind of person would I be if I can't bring comfort to somebody, or if I can't bring change to somebody in a situation, or
Right.
if I can't bring light to a situation like this one? You know what I'm saying? Then I'm not doing my job if I got a platform.
Absolutely. If you have a platform, I don't think you obviously have a right, but I think you also have a responsibility to bring attention to certain things. Whatever it is that you feel so concerned and passionate about, you have a responsibility to bring attention to that. I'm not,
Yeah.
I obviously don't, like, I have a platform. I don't have the biggest platform, but I care about anything that I'm speaking on. So if you see me speaking about any social issues on this podcast or the other podcast that I do or my social media or in an interview on the radio, whatever the case may be, if I'm speaking on it on a comedy stage or in a song, I'm doing it because I have the right and I have the responsibility to do so.
Yeah. And I care about it.
Yeah.
I
So
absolutely care about it.
where do you think that comes from? Where do you think these athletes and entertainers are uneducated so they can't speak on it? Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know where that comes from in particular, but I know that certain people don't want to hear from certain people because they do have a large audience. And it
Mm,
does sway them away from the big conglomerates agenda
sure.
sometimes. So it goes against the grain. So you don't want them to speak. So you would slander them by
Yeah.
saying they're uneducated, by saying they're uninformed, you
Yeah.
know, et cetera, by saying stay in your lane. That's essentially what they're doing.
I think people automatically assume that it's fake, that there's no real true belief in whatever it is that they're speaking on. And maybe that's the case in some situations. But in a lot of situations, in this situation with Jelly Roll, it is something that he cares about so deeply. And I just I don't know. I don't think the majority of it's fake. I don't. I think I don't know.
There ain't nothing fake about this situation at
No,
all.
not at all.
You know, we've heard about you know what fentanyl has been doing. We heard about how it's been moving
Yeah,
underground. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So what's fake about this? You know what I mean? This is a conversation that needs to be had because something needs to happen. Yeah, so I don't know what's fake about it. Like I'm looking at it this way. If it's a real issue, let's talk about this real issue. And if there's anything that we can do about this issue, let's do it. And if change don't happen overnight, obviously, we have to bring a level of awareness to it so that it can grow to a larger scale so that maybe the powers that be can step in, man. How many rappers we gonna lose? Entertainers we gonna lose? How many personal friends are we gonna lose to drug abuse? You know what I'm saying? Before America realizes this is a real problem. We talk about opioids all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and the addiction is real. And we think about America as a whole and how we get down. You know what I'm saying? And you know, medically in this country, man, you go to the doctor and tell them your booty itch. You know, you popping pills, easy. You can get
I
anything you want to get with ease. Oh,
real story here. Real story. As you know, and most of the audience knows, I struggle with anxiety and depression. And so a couple of years ago, I had made the switch from one doctor to another due to insurance situations. So I'm in this new doctor, and I need to get a refill on my anxiety and depression medication. And he's like, yeah, there's no problem. He asked what I was taking. I told him what I was taking. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to prescribe you oxycodone for your anxiety. Oxy does not treat anxiety. What are we doing? He's like, yeah, but I mean, it can help. It can help what? It can help get me addicted. It can help get me fucked up. Like it's not the whole. It's not all the entirety of the medical field. But there are those
yeah,
doctors out
for
there.
sure, for sure, for sure.
There are those medical professionals that are um, pushing pills for whatever reason, and obviously it's financial reason. Um, but I've had a family member who had a surgery and he was put on medication for the surgery, and that is where his drug addiction started. It wasn't like he was just in the streets, you
That's how
know,
most of them start, honestly.
doing whatever. It was a medical issue. He didn't start struggling with drugs until he was in his 50s, and it came from these pain pills that he was taking after surgery. And I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I am not I am not intellectual enough to figure out what the answer is on how to stop addiction coming from that route, but it's a real thing, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be challenged. It's something that needs to be fixed.
And it's something that needs to be heard. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. yeah, man, I don't know what else to add, bro. I'm just thinking about how it's affected me and it's affected others. And I understand how, man, shout out to Jelly Roll, bro. Shout out, like
Absolutely.
his story is already amazing. Uh, life wise, like, if you haven't checked them out, check them out, dig into them. Um, but the evolution of the artist and the person, and to have things you care about this much, to go to these lengths to try to make something happen, is more should aspire to try to do things like that. If you want to see some change in a certain
Yeah.
area, like, go put boots to the ground and go make something happen. Like, go to the
Be the
places where you can get the change.
be the change you want to see in the world.
Start there first. Start there first. Before you put the boots to the ground, be the change. Then go
Yeah,
put the boots to the ground.
absolutely.
That's how you separate the real from the fake.
Yeah.
Change first and then go promote change. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think a good example of this is Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry, whom we both loved for years,
RIP. RIP.
RIP. I just finished reading his book, and he struggled with addiction for years. And the last however many years, 5, 6 years, he was sober, and he was spending all of his time trying to make a difference. And I think that's amazing that he used his platform, his hard-earned money, to bring change. And if you have if you have the ability to do it, I don't see how you wouldn't.
The Matthew Perry thing, I I buried that. So you bringing it up just made me think about it again, and
Yeah,
that's rough, man. It's been hitting, since the dawn of time, bro. Like,
yeah,
addiction, and we all know it comes in many forms. But when it comes to medications, this is a real American problem, and I think we
yeah,
got to fix this before it
yeah.
gets too out of hand. It's already wow. That statistic that he brought up. Imagine a jet crashing. The safest way to travel. Imagine a jet crashing every day, bro.
Yeah.
That'd be a national story. That'd be mind-boggling. People was, oh, we gotta do something. And
Mhm.
this is no different, bro. People are still dying. I don't
But
care how
that's
you look at them.
but that's the thing that he said. Average everyday people, the government, whatever, they look at addicts as less than human.
That's
And
unfortunate.
it's unfortunate, but there's this narrative that if you're an addict, you did it to yourself, you made that decision, and that's not always the case.
Nah,
And
for
even
for
if
the
it
most
is the
part, it's not.
case, even if it is the case, if my father started smoking cigarettes when he was 5 because that's what he knew. He came from another time, like he was born in the early 50s. So that's just what was happening. So if he made this decision when he was 5 years old, and thank God he's not, but God forbid, now at 70 years old, if he starts having breathing issues, lung issues, whatever the case may be, is he less than human because he made a decision when he was 5 when his brain wasn't um, you know, fully formed? And I say that to say that yes, my uncle got addicted to drugs in his 50s after having surgery, but a lot of young teens before their brains are fully formed, they start dabbling in drugs, maybe because they think it's the cool thing to do,
Yeah.
but their brains aren't fully formed. They made that decision, but is it really their fault?
Or I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would go to they made that decision. Is it really their fault? I would say they made that decision, but should we not care?
That's the more important point. You got
Yeah,
there. I couldn't figure it out, but
yeah. We
that
we,
that's
we
that's
should.
the more important thing.
Yeah, for sure. We should. We should definitely care. We should care more. Too many things are going on. That's oh man, I'm sorry. I get a little emotional with it, man, because it's close to me when it comes to this.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like I said, we all know somebody. We
Yeah.
all know somebody
I was a
that is
kid
affected.
going into the treatment centers to go see the person I called dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm like I lost two uncles to drug addiction, and both of those uncles you knew. You knew how close I was to them. So it's something that's real important to me as well. I think it's interesting that we said we were going to come in speak out more so on the fact that whether or not celebrities should or whatever. We're both emotional now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna get us back on track. I'm gonna shake the emotion real quick.
Oh,
Smoking since 5 years old, my boy. 5? God damn. Hey, you should have problems in your 30s. Get the 70s. Like, yeah. Yo,
hey,
smoking since 5. Wow.
my
Sitting on the
father is a
porch with a whole new, see, it wasn't Newport. See, it was hand rolled cigarettes. He's sitting on the porch
hey.
with a hand rolled cigarette. Oh, I don't feel like playing with my Legos right now, mommy.
Were Legos out in the 50s?
My blocks. I don't want to play with my blocks, mommy.
The smoker voice at 5 is crazy.
It's wild. It was wild, dog.
I don't smoke anymore, but maybe it's just seeing my parents smoke as a kid. I started smoking. I could set the picture. I could set the picture. I was 11 years old, 12 maybe, 11 or 12. And I went to a private school. And when school would get out, we would walk from the school to the McDonald's and just one street away, and we'd hang out at the McDonald's. I went to a Christian school. We go to the McDonald's before going back for youth group, right? And so there was this big plot of land that was just woods. So we would go to the McDonald's, and there was this dude that went to the school, went to the church, and he's like, "Hey, LJ, you want to smoke?" I was like, "Hey, my parents do it. Let's go." So we went behind the McDonald's, slightly into the woods where nobody from the church could see us, and he pulled out a pack of Newports, handed me one, and it was a wrap. Like I haven't smoked since I'm like 18, but from like 11 or 12 to 18, it was tough to shake. My parents were buying cartons, so I would just sneak a pack here and there. You know what I mean?
That's wild. Yeah, I took my first puff. I was like 10 years old, and this is the nastiest way to do it.
uh,
A car rolled by, dumped the cigarette out of the window.
oh nah.
It was still lit. I picked it up, and it was like, "You ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna." I said, "She." It sucks, mommy. Nah,
That was a thing.
it
That was a
sucked.
thing that we would do. Like, me and my group of friends who smoked, if when we were 12 and 13 walking around the mall, we'd step outside of the mall, a little ashtray, see what we can get a couple hits off of. Oh, is that still like that's disgusting.
That's disgusting, bro.
Thinking of
That's addict behavior right there.
yeah, yes, but it was cigarettes, but obviously cigarettes are madly addicting.
Addictive. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, wow. This podcast took a turn.
Yeah, did it? Did it? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Listen, I just can't stop imagining the 5-year-old just sitting there in his drawers and some cowboy boots sitting on the front porch. Yeah, this is really good. No filter, just.
My father left home at 9 years old.
Oh yeah, he won up Cat Williams.
He wasn't reading no 3,000 books, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not even sure he could read. No, I shouldn't say
Uh,
that. But nah, he let his so like I didn't know. I knew my grandmother on his side. She wasn't around a lot, but I was around her a few times, and his father had passed away before I was born. But not the best parents in the world for him. So my father was one of three, and he was the I think he was the oldest. And my father said it was right before it was the Christmas before he left. The parents, their Christmas gift was bicycles. The youngest brother, he got it. He was super excited, brand new bike. And then the middle brother got it. Oh my gosh, brand new bike, that's great. And then my father got his, and it was an old beat up, rusty bike with no tires. And at 9 years old, he's like, these people don't give a fuck about me. I'm just gonna go.
yeah, that's wild. Shout
That's
out to
sad.
his
Like
strength. That's wild.
that's he was, yeah. My father's one of the strongest
Yeah.
dudes that I know. Tough upbringing, and had a successful career,
Yeah.
and was an amazing father to me. So
Yeah, absolutely one of the realest. 9 years old, another level, another. Listen, I put up my window in my room when I was 9 years old, and I said, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm running away because I didn't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do my
You
chores.
have the stick. You had the stick though.
Nah, I had a backpack. I
Oh,
dumped
okay.
all of my school stuff out, and I put like clothes and some candy. And I
Jansport though, right?
Nah, it wasn't JanSport. It was like some like whatever Walmart brand that was at the
Okay.
time in the 90s. And I get halfway out of the window and I said, I looked down the street and I'm like, yo, where am I going? I didn't have a clue. And I closed the window. I went outside. I put the screen back on the window and I said, I ain't going nowhere. I don't even know where to go. So shout out to him, man. Y'all some strong people, man. Him, Cat Williams, everybody who y'all some strong people, man. I ain't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? On my own till I was like 19, bro.
Yeah. It was a different world back then, truly. Like he was able to get a job as an iron worker at like 12. Now, how old are you? 20.
That's
All right,
wild.
bet. Bet.
We gonna pay you under the table. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of them. Yeah. But hey, I don't know, man. Now where are we going? I look, it's been a great podcast.
Yeah, man, let's get out of here, man. We gonna be doing this all day. Let's get out of here, man.
Yeah,
Man, look, I appreciate everybody tuning in to the cultural experience. Wait, what's the name?
yeah, you're right. I came up with it. Let me tell you. Cultural Exchange Podcast. That's a callback. You see that? That's what we do.
Good one. Yeah, man. Thanks. Shout out to y'all, man. Tuning in to the cultural exchange, man. I'll get a little mush mouth sometime, man. That's what we. Yeah, man. Peace, love to everybody, man. I've been a little under the weather, man. So doing this, I probably sound nasally, but I did it, made it through. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep rocking. This is just the second iteration, and we gonna keep going, man. This is good, man. I'm back outside, so yeah, man. Let's go.
I don't really have an outro like that. I don't have one,
Oh,
see
next week we're gonna have one. Just like we didn't have the title, not the
yeah,
title, but we didn't have the name of the pod on the first one. So
yeah.
yeah, we'll have an outro on the third. You know what I mean? It's coming.
I'll
Hey,
just
we gonna piece it together in real time.
hey, I'm gonna just say, what did you say? Peace, love, and positivity. Is that what
Yeah,
it was?
let's go.
All
Peace,
right,
love.
peace, love, and positivity. Thank you all for checking the podcast out. We'll be back next week.
Hmm